When you consider all the typical injuries that can occur on the basketball court, what would you say is the worst of them all? Let's say we developed a scale from left to right that showed injuries ranging from minor to most career-threatening. How exactly would the list look like? Obviously something like cramps or back spasms would be on the left. Toward the middle you might see the classic ankle sprain, and towards the right you'll see the foot injuries, Achilles injuries, and brutal knee injuries that are undoubtedly the biggest culprits in robbing us fans of countless and countless NBA players who had a desire to play at full health but simply could not. Think of it as pretty much the exact opposite of what R. Kelly said at the beginning of the song, Bump and Grind. My mind is telling me yes, but my body's telling me no. Not sure exactly what R. Kelly was referring to in this song, but you see it works in reverse here. Anyways, too many times we see guys who want to play that are simply not ready to do so, or worse, they are never ready to do so ever again. Yet what if I were to tell you, in the land of these absolutely devastating injuries, such as say a torn ACL, ruptured Achilles, or even broken foot, where the rehab time can take over a year, doesn't even come close to the worst injury of them all. Meet 17-year-old Kyrie Irving. Growing up in West Orange, New Jersey, Irving quickly became known around the area for possessing a gift so rare it was difficult to explain and you simply just had to watch. As a senior at St. Patrick's High School, Kyrie teamed up with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist to become the most powerful duo in the country, where Irving averaged 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. While many in attendance of his games that year called him one of the best guards in the country, it still doesn't do justice to the way Kyrie played the game. He wasn't just a basketball player, he was an artist. Almost as if he was born to have the ball in his hands, and he would simply allow his instincts and creativity to do the work for him. Whether that meant coming up with a ridiculous dribble combo to get past a defender, or if it meant finding just enough space to deliver a remarkable finish at the rim. Fast forwarding to his time at Duke, it was honestly more of the same, with simply a larger national audience surrounding his every move. Yet this was no bother to him, as this was when we first saw on the national level his flair for the dramatics and how his greatest play occurred in the most critical moments, a talent only saved for the best in their craft. So when it came time to suit up in the NBA, where some doubted his hype due to only 11 games in college, Irving balled out like he always had, seamlessly meshing his game with the pros and showing everyone he was up next in the long list of great NBA point guards. Most importantly, however, throughout all his success in his early days, it was not hard to see how much Kyrie was enjoying the ride. Basketball was his craft, and it was something he loved to play every single day with more passion than just about anyone. It was obvious. From running pickup with a Division III basketball team at Montclair State after missing the playoffs, or when he was selected to play for the Team USA Select Team in 2012 and not only balled out against the senior squad, he went and challenged Kobe Bryant to a game of one-on-one as a 20-year-old. Think about the self-belief and confidence in your abilities you gotta have to go over to one of the best players in NBA history and tell him, hey, I genuinely think I can beat you one-on-one. As a result, it was this bit of charisma both on and off the court that made him one of the most popular players in the NBA. By 2014, just a couple years after he entered the league, if Kyrie wasn't your favorite player, he was certainly in your top 5, as a lot of current and former hoopers of all ages recognized just how brilliant of a watch Irving was. Not just the hoopers either. Billion-dollar brands look to cash in on the genius of Kyrie Irving, with both Nike and Pepsi bringing him into the fold as one of their main endorsers. I'm sure everyone is aware by now of the Uncle Drew character Irving plays for Pepsi, but what I think is even more telling of Irving's lucrative marketability is the fact Nike gave him a signature sneaker deal at 22 years old over other guys in the NBA that were probably more deserving and more accomplished. And by the time he was 24, Irving was already a consensus all-star starter, an Olympic champion, and an NBA champion, all by the end of August 2016. Yet somewhere in this incredible character arc of a player everyone rooted for, where you started to consider how good of a player he would truly be, something changed. Something just felt different. Before talking about the bigger picture I want to discuss, let's talk about Kyrie Irving's reported injury as it stands present day. Per our friends at RotoWorld, it was first mentioned that Kyrie was dealing with the shoulder impingement that he was battling through after the game against the Utah Jazz on November 12th. Although he was listed as questionable to play following the game, he surprisingly went on to suit up against Denver 2 days later and looked pretty much 100%. While he shot 8 of 20 in the game, there was not one moment you could point to where it showed he actually looked to be in any sort of pain. Following the game, however, Irving was again listed as questionable against the Chicago Bulls, but instead of playing this time, he sat out with what was being reported to be a short-term injury. Yet the short-term shoulder injury where the Brooklyn Nets opted to rule him out on a 2-game to 3-game basis, essentially making it seem as if his return was near, has now multiplied into a multi-month absence with very little updates on the actual progress of what he's dealing with. On December 8th, head coach Kenny Atkinson told reporters he believed Irving would return to practice in a week or two, and as of now, Kyrie is yet to be cleared for contact. By December 28th, with so much confusion and little information about what the hell is going on, perhaps the most interesting and concerning report was shared by none other than Rick Bucher in a radio interview that there was more going on with Kyrie than just the shoulder injury, and it had to do with his mental health.
The Nets for a second, Kyrie Irving hasn't played since November 14th. They're calling it shoulder impingement. What's your sense about what's going on here, and how surprised are people that, he has not played for this long, which, no one thought it was a really serious injury, but lo and behold, more than a month later, here we are.
Yeah, I hate to buy into salacious rumors, but I've heard it from enough different places, some of which I give credibility, that there's a lot more going on with Kyrie than just physical issues. There's some things that he has to work out, psychologically, mentally. My understanding is that there's more going on here than just physical issues.
Now, before we jump to any conclusions, let me reiterate, Bucher is simply detailing what he has heard from his unnamed sources about the Irving situation. This past Saturday on January 4th, Irving finally spoke to the media after not speaking for nearly 2 months and confirmed he is dealing with bursitis in his shoulder. Instead of opting for surgery, he is getting cortisone shots in the shoulder in hopes of playing again this season. Nonetheless, while I have little doubt Kyrie is dealing with a shoulder injury that was worse than originally diagnosed, and am relieved we finally got an update after 2 months, I also cannot help but think about Bucher's comments alongside the way Irving has acted lately. For those that have watched Irving closely over the last 3 to 4 years and throughout his entire career, I think you would agree on appearance, Kyrie looks to have lost a considerable amount of joy in living the NBA life. While I don't think it's a pure loss in the passion for hoops, he has become jaded with respect to what comes alongside the beautiful sport that he loves. From openly admitting he wants to retire in his early to mid 30s, to being caught saying he isn't going to miss any of this crap when he's done playing, there are quite a bit of subtle signs that speak to Irving's battle with being an NBA superstar. Of course, his immense talent is still there, and he can continue to wow you with moments that bring you back to his early days, but the sad reality is, it is hard to tell if he's really happy playing in the NBA at the moment. With so much chatter on his mood swings and his inability to vibe with locker rooms, it is starting to become a bit scary how much the ability to vibe with his teammates has deteriorated over the last few years. Let's just go over a short timeline since his last days with LeBron, if you don't believe me. In February 2017, Irving tells Richard Jefferson on his podcast that he believes the earth is flat. And while I largely blame the media and internet bullying culture for pretty much forcing him to walk back the comments, his behavior only got worse from that point, as it was reported he refused to speak to Cavs players during their 2017 run, was deemed toxic by several anonymous Celtic teammates throughout his stay in Boston, and he refused to partake in the traditional summer weight training program with the Brooklyn Nets. And guys, these are just a handful of examples. Now, I don't say all this to attack Kyrie for his strange behavior. On the contrary, I say it to fight back against those who call out guys like Irving when they don't know exactly what may be going on in his life. While I think the NBA has done a much better job over the last few years to address the elephant in the room that is mental health, it is easy to see Irving as becoming a leader for the movement that makes it a point to stand up for it. And if it wasn't clear enough what Kyrie is going through, Irving let it be known after a game in Boston that he was pretty much done with entertainment culture and how fans fail to see the professional sports players as real human beings. Because although you may say Kyrie needs to get over Boston fans chanting, "Kyrie sucks," the only person that gets to decide how they will react to that chant is Kyrie himself. Yeah, Kyrie Irving, the superstar NBA player, might shrug it off, but what about Kyrie Irving, the human being that eats food, drinks water, and takes shits like you and me? The human that deals with the same insecurities we all have. Should that Kyrie be forced to get over the critics so quickly as well? So instead of being quick to point out what is wrong with Kyrie Irving and attacking him for the way that he's acting, you guys have to realize there is nothing more important than your mental health. Ultimately, I'm super stoked to hear an update from Kyrie's shoulder injury and that his absence is only a result of his physical injury, because in reality, this is small potatoes in comparison to the mental injuries that affect you for life. As more and more of the public have become aware of the mental trauma that comes with playing football, such as CTE, there is nowhere near the same coverage for other professional athletes that have disclosed their battle with mental illness. With NBA stars like Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan also speaking out for mental health awareness, we need to respect the players that have the courage to say they are not okay sometimes, or even to admit, yeah, you know what? It actually really hurts to hear fans chant out, "You suck." So for that, I salute Irving for being one of the realest ones out here, whether you like it or not. So Kyrie might return in a few weeks, a month, or he might not return at all this year. No matter what his diagnosis is on the shoulder, the number one most important thing is to make sure he's doing okay mentally. Because in 10 years, 20 years, hell 30 years, where he is retired and no longer in the spotlight like he is now, these thrills on the basketball court won't even compare to his future peace of mind, and that is just something you cannot put a price on. Anyways guys, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. A bit more of a serious discussion on my personal favorite player in the league and how I hope he's progressing well. What do you guys think about Kyrie? Have you noticed a change with him as well? Comment your thoughts below. With that said, hope you guys have a great rest of the day or night or whatever time it is. I'll be back at it soon. Peace out.